Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Tony. Today we're going to make another recipe I saw online, and it is a Philly cheesesteak sloppy joe recipe. The original recipe calls for ground beef. However, I want to use the little ribeye meat myself with the flavors and the marbling and see how well that turns out. I could grind it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to trim up the pieces and make them into little bits. So why don't we go ahead and get in the kitchen and get started here. Okay, for this recipe it calls for 8 ounces of brown mushrooms, or portobello as my wife loves, and I'm going to wash them up. I always wash my mushrooms, and I'll wash each one of them individually just to make sure they're clean. I don't buy sliced mushrooms because I don't feel they are clean enough and they're harder to wash when they're sliced up. So I've already washed these. I'm going to rinse them off and pan them up and do my thing with it. Okay, I just wanted to show you this real quickly with the bell peppers here. When you do bell peppers, instead of trying to cut it on the outside, you always want to cut it on the inside. It makes it easier to cut and it's a lot safer. And we're cutting these up into little squares like so. This is for those out there that aren't really sure how to do that, because I've seen people try and use this. It also dulls the knife a lot quicker that way. And we're just going to cut these up into little bitty squares here. Remember to tuck your fingers in. When you do this. That's all I wanted to show you. Onions pretty much the same way. Go ahead and cut it down the middle, lay it down, and just go ahead and make your cuts this way. And go this way. Okay, the recipe calls for a pound of ground beef for it. I have got just about a pound, I think it's 1.20 pounds of ribeye steak here. And by the time I trim up the fat out of here and just leave a little bit of the marbling, it should be around a pound. And we're going to go ahead and cut these up into little chunks and pieces too. Get rid of that nerve ending part right there. So we're shooting for I'm cutting these into about strips like so. Little pieces of steak. Okay, this is everything you're going to need. 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 2 tablespoons of ketchup, 1 cup of beef broth slurry, 8 ounces of Parmesan cheese cut up real nicely, the steak meat, onions, I keep a lid on it so the fumes don't drive us crazy, bell peppers, 8 ounces of mushrooms into pieces, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 6 brioche buns. For this I'm going to use my wok. I'm using a little oil because I trimmed most of the fat off of that ribeye. Okay, first I'm going to brown my meat. Okay, now that my meat is brown, I'm going to remove it from the heat. Okay, next recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of butter. It also says to add the onion first, but in all my years of cooking, I've learned that the bell peppers take longer to cook than the onions, so I'm going to add those in separately first. Okay, I'm going to add my bell pepper. Work that in and saute that for about 2 minutes, maybe 3. Then I'll add my onions. Reduce my flame down to medium-high. Okay, it's been about 3 minutes for my bell pepper. So now I'm going to add my onion. And work that in. Oh, it already smells delicious. And I'm going to do this for another 3 minutes. Then I'm going to add my mushrooms, because mushrooms don't take long at all. Okay, I'm coming up on 3 minutes. I love wok cooking. I am so glad I got my wok. It just makes everything seem easier. So now I'm going to add my mushrooms. And incorporate them in. And I'm going to do this for another 3 minutes. Okay, this has actually been about 5 minutes since I added the mushrooms. So now I'm going to reincorporate my ribeye steak meat. Work that in. Oh, don't that look delicious? I'm salivating. I'm going to add my 2 tablespoons of ketchup, my 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. The recipe calls for a half a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of pepper. Oh, I wish you could smell this. One tablespoon of cornstarch. So easy to get stuff off the sides with the wok. If you're interested in purchasing a wok, I'm going to put the link down below along with these bamboo utensils. They work good because this is Teflon, so nothing really sticks with this, even the cheese. Now I'm going to add 1 cup of my beef broth SLURRY. Let that come back to a boil. Okay, now that we're coming back to a boil, I feel the cornstarch starting to thicken up here. And the recipe calls for 8 ounces of provolone cheese, diced up real small. If you don't want that much cheese, you can do 6 ounces, but I want the full flavor effect and I'm not holding back. And we'll melt this in and incorporate it and it'll be ready. It is, the recipe says it's going to be very cheesy. And again, I'll have a link to this below my ingredients and what I used here. And we'll work all that cheese in with all that juice. This will feed a family of 4 easy. Now I'm going to go down to low heat. Philly cheesesteak, Sloppy Joe. It's definitely cheesy. Okay, it's time for the taste test. Alright you guys, this is the moment of truth here. I'm so excited to try this dish. Oh my goodness. This is just simply heavenly amazing. Or I should say simply amazing. It's definitely delicious. And cheesy. And stringy cheesy. On a scale of 1 to 5, I give it a 5. You'll definitely enjoy this if you make it. Remember the original recipe called for ground beef, and this one I'm using ribeye steak, so it'll probably not be as messy with the ground beef. It'll hold it together better, but I'm not complaining. I love ribeye steak, and this is just amazing. What do you think about this, Margaret?
It's delicious.
It is delicious.
I wouldn't want it with ground beef. This is really good. Really good.
I'm glad. It is amazing. I'm going to even try some on my french fry. It's even delicious with french fries. And yeah. Well, once again, I'd like to thank you for watching another episode of Cooking with Tony. If you enjoyed this recipe, please give me a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe for more YouTube videos. And just like I said, I will put the original link on my web down in my description. And thank you again. God bless. Oh my goodness.
It's so messy I can't even begin to attempt to pick it up.
I feel animalistic, almost barbarian eating this like
I have
this.
it up to my elbows.